Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 6 for 6 on this glorious Saturday in September, on September 18th. Season 1, Episode 10 of 6 for 6, ladies and gentlemen. I will bring to you the 6 best games this weekend in the world of football since it is football season. So let's get down to business and have a great show. Thank you for those who are tuning in. And let's get the show on the road, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start off with the first game of today. So in the first game of the day, we're going to start in the NFL because it's hard to figure out how to rank the NFL games on top of that. And also, just in the grand scheme of things, it's like, I don't know how good it really is. Like, you can see the teams that are constant and all that stuff. But like, I put the top 3 as college football games because you have the ranking system and you can really see where that team really fits and how competitive that game is, because the rankings can really dictate how close some teams are, really far apart these teams actually are. But, let's go into it. We're going to start in the world of the NFL. We're going to go with the 6th game of the games. We have the Falcons versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, I understand a lot of you are very, saying, why you put this game? I think it's going to be trying to be Matt Ryan trying to rejuvenate his career. That's why I put it down there. And facing Tom Brady is a great way to, try to get that on the starting on the upper up, but at the same time, Atlanta's 0-1. The Tampa Bay just, Thursday night opener against the Cowboys, they took care of business as, Tom Brady does. But at the same time, let me give you some statistics to, build up the excitement for this game. And we'll, go into it. So the first, statistic is that the Bucs are favorite, hands down, ladies and gentlemen. It's a no-brainer. ESPN has them winning 78.5% of this chance of winning this game. And last game, Tom Brady threw for 4 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, and was 32 for 50 against the Cowboys. So as you know, Tom Brady hasn't, took that slump yet, really. He's still putting up numbers, 4 touchdown passes in his last game that he had, and 2 interceptions. Not bad, though. If you're a fantasy owner, you hate to see interceptions, but, throwing almost 400 yards with 4 touchdowns is not a bad night in fantasy football, but those 2 interceptions definitely hurt for sure. But I think, once Matt Ryan gets, going, he's a little bit better. But after his last home game, or the last game he had, he was 21 for 35 and only didn't even reach 200 yards and 0 touchdown passes. So Matt Ryan's definitely going to be fighting an uphill battle for sure. And we're going to have to see how this really, develops and unfolds as time progresses. But, in this game, and plus, the Bucs are even home in this matter. So we'll just have to, stay tuned and just keep an eye out on how things, develop. But, let's move on to our next game on our list. We have the number 5 spot, the Titans versus the Seahawks. A great matchup, I would say. Gotta love it on, Sunday at 4:45 p.m. Eastern, 1:25 p.m. Pacific time on CBS. So, if you want some, good afternoon football, that's definitely good teams to watch because there's a lot of running game. But the Titans are, 0-1, and Seahawks are, 1-0. Great way to start. Russell Wilson has, his last game, he was 18 for 23 with 254 yards and 4 touchdown passes. So that's still a phenomenal performance by Russell Wilson. Ryan Tannehill, on the other hand, when you have elite wide receivers that he has and Derrick Henry, you want to see more balanced numbers, but he wasn't really, a star stud in his opener. So I would say, he was 21 for 35 with 212 yards, which is not bad, but only 1 touchdown pass and 1 interception. So, it kind of canceled itself out. He was just there moving the ball around. So nothing too spectacular from him. But at the same time, you have, the Seattle Seahawks are favorites to win this game with almost a 71% chance of them to win this football game. So as you can see, it's a little bit lopsided, but obviously the Titans have the offensive weapons to compete and can contend in this game. But it just really comes down to how they use these weapons against Seattle, because Seattle, does a lot of different things with Russell Wilson, and their defense, has some moments of being really good or really bad, but most of the time the it's a solid defense for the Seattle Seahawks, I would say. Next up on this list, we have the Rams and Colts, definitely in the 4th spot in the NFL, and just really capture all that. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on Fox. Definitely, something going to be interesting. On top of that, Rams are 1-0, Colts are 0-1. So Colts are looking for that win. They're home, so it's going to, have that home field advantage. But, I criticize, Matt Stafford saying he's just an average quarterback and all that stuff. But, hey, he's putting up his numbers respectively, because in his first game of the season with the Rams, he was 20 for 26. So he only had 6, incomplete passes with 321 yards and 3 touchdowns for for a new team, and being a starting quarterback with that team. That's what you're supposed to do when you have weapons and you're, like I said, he was an average quarterback, but that's actually great numbers for him. So now the question is, can he be consistent in this game, or is he going to fall off and have a slump where he gets like 212 yards and, has a lot more incomplete passes? But we have to wait and see how this really unfolds on Sunday, see if he can, contends. On top of that, the Colts and Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz, has a lot more incomplete passes. He, threw for 25 for 38 and had 251 yards and 2 touchdown passes, which is not bad. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I know the Colts is like a little bit aging and don't have a lot of offensive weapons to really help them with. But obviously, you got the Eagles to the, postseason before your injuries, and Nick Foles, took them to the Super Bowl and won it on your behalf, because you got the Eagles into that situation. But at the same time, you got to be very articulate on how you want to use the Colts in their wide receiving core that they have there. But let me give you a quick recap for those who are tuning in and those who are listening on the podcast later on, trying to figure out how did I, put these rankings. So the ones I'm going to recap are just the NFL that I have here before I transition into the college football. So number 6, Falcons versus Buccaneers on Sunday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, 1:05 Pacific time on Fox. So make sure you tune into that game to see Tom Brady in action against Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan needs to step up, or he might be out the door sometime soon, but, he's Atlanta's quarterback until they start seeking another quarterback in the draft. He may be running towards the end of his time in Atlanta, but we'll see, because there's a lot of young quarterbacks, and some teams may need just like a quarterback who's a veteran to give them a playoff push. I don't know if, Matt Ryan can be that guy, but hey, Matty Ice need to get his act together and put the Falcons back on track in this game, because it's a divisional matchup and it's going to be very critical for how the rest of the season unfolds, because you don't want to be 0-2 going into week 3. You'd rather be 1-1 in this scenario than, being 0-2. Definitely a key matchup for Matt Ryan here, ladies and gentlemen. But we have in the number 5 spot, we have the Titans and Seahawks, run heavy with the Titans. They have offensive weapons, but Ryan Tannehill is being that average quarterback that he is, not really putting up highlight spectacular numbers, but he's getting the ball around, moving it. But he needs, to pick up a little bit. But obviously the Seahawks and Russell Wilson is second to none. The man is a legend. He does great in fantasy football in general and really puts the stats up there. So he's really like stat patenting things down in Seattle, taking care of business for all those fantasy owners and, enjoying for the Seahawks fans as well. So definitely a game to watch out. So the game is on Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, 1:25 p.m. Pacific time on CBS. Definitely, tune in if you have the chance to watch that game. Next up, you have the Rams and Colts to really cap out the NFL segment on today's show. This matchup is going to be Matt Stafford. Can he be consistent with the Rams? Continue to put up those good numbers like he did last game and really be that, better than I say average quarterback, because I know the Lions didn't really give him that much and he struggled a lot of this time. But now he's on a team to do it. And like I said, I'm giving it a 3-year window. Can he get to the Super Bowl in 3 years? I could say yes. He definitely has the talent to do it and the defense to back him up with that supporting cast. So it's definitely, going to be something interesting on top of that for sure. But, it's going to be Carson Wentz on the other side with the Colts and trying to make things happen. So got to be, key and very important for this game for the Rams and all that stuff. But let's move on to the world of college football now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start off, with a good ranked matchup. Lower in the lower half in the top 20-ish range, we got Arizona State and BYU. Right here, both schools are 2-0, trying to, make a deep run in the top 15 by the end of the year. I know the College Football Committee is not going to try to put these teams up there, but we may see, one of these teams reach into the 12th spot or 14 by the end of the year and get a nice New Year's Six bid. But it really depends on how, the committee values this and on the matchup. But at the same time, it's at BYU on top of that. So BYU is like the underdogs in all this story. But according to ESPN, that's not the case. They have a 53% chance of winning this football game. So I think, it's a good, safe bet to go with BYU. I understand last year they had almost like an undefeated season and trying to make their bid for the college football playoffs, since there was like a lot of weird trying to figure out who gets in with a short amount of games and all that scheduling and all that stuff. But, BYU's quarterback has really put it on there, ladies and gentlemen. He already has 5 touchdown passes this year, and with 0 picks heading into week 3 of the college football season. So it's like he's on that good trajectory of keep putting up touchdowns on the board for BYU. So he's definitely going to keep lighting up the scoreboard and passing. So that's why I put this game on the list. And to even add a little historical spin to it, this is the first time these teams have met since the 1998 season. So there's a gap here. So there's really, maybe it could spark something new according to scheduling, but this is the first time since 98 since these teams are facing each other. So there's really not much film that they can really go off of from previous matchups and how their teams fare against each other. So this is definitely going to be something interesting. Keep your eyes on the lookout. To put it on the time frame for those who are trying to watch this game, it's Arizona State, who is number 19 in the nation. BYU is number 23 in the nation. On today, September 18th, at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Pacific on ESPN. So it's those late night games here out on the East Coast where it's like, almost Pac-12 after dark, but this is not the Pac-12 right here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be one of those key interesting things for sure. Next up on this list, I have give some love to the Big Ten, because the Big Ten has really done well in scheduling, putting some rankings in this matchup to really fit in the power, in the 6-for-6 segment on, the MI6 program here at our studios. But we have Cincinnati, number 8 in the nation, versus Indiana in the Big Ten. Indiana's struggling this year. So it's like, can they knock off number 8 Cincinnati and trying to, be the team saying, you're not like us. You're not going to get to the college football playoffs if you can't beat us. But if Cincinnati takes care of business and wins this game, it's like it steps in the right direction, because you're going to be, maybe they don't get to the college football playoffs. And maybe, as the expansion comes out a little bit later in a few years, Cincinnati may be in that playoff expansion picture and looking at that. So this is going to help, sway some talent to Cincinnati if they're able to beat Indiana today. It's at Indiana, so it's going to be a hostile environment for these, Cincinnati Bearcats. Definitely going to be a game to watch out for. But, really going into it, Cincinnati's quarterback has 6 touchdowns already in the first 2 weeks, over 500 yards and 1 interception. So the man's putting up numbers and can easily score. There's no doubt about that Cincinnati can score in this football game based on how their quarterback's performed in the last 2 weeks. While Indiana, on the other hand, their quarterback is struggling with 3 interceptions and only 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks. There's something slow about the offense right there. They need to get this under control before this turns into a disaster for them this week. But at the same time, he only threw for 224 yards this season. So his numbers are a little lower and only really almost like 1 touchdown per game. It's not going to be enough to beat Cincinnati. You're going to need to do more to be able to contend in this football game for sure, ladies and gentlemen. This is like a no-brainer, bottom line, end of the day. But I think the game that we all know that's going to be on the list, we even talked about it for 6-for-6, ladies and gentlemen. Not 6-for-6, on No BS, the game that we all talked about in our Pigskin Pick'ems. It's Auburn-Penn State. It's a whiteout, ladies and gentlemen. It's number 22 Auburn versus number 10 Penn State. And Happy Valley at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific on ABC. So make sure you tune into that. Definitely going to be a game to watch and see how it develops for sure, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely going to be a good game on top of that. But let me give you a back story about this. Both teams are trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. So if you lose to this, you're in a weird predicament. Penn State would be like if they lost. It'd be like Ohio State. They got to win out the Big Ten to get in. But being ranked number 10 and Ohio State, ranked where they are as being number 8 before the college football playoff polls have been, released later in the year, winning this game is going to keep Penn State in the top 10 mix. And it's going to be a fuel for their campaign to get to the college football playoffs if they win the Big Ten and go undefeated. Because if they go undefeated, they'd probably be a number 2 or number 3, depending how the community values Penn State victories and how they win for the rest of the season. On the other hand, for Auburn, if they win, it helps the SEC because now Auburn's a ranked opponent and helps out Georgia, Alabama, and all the SEC in company with this ranked matchup. If Auburn wins this football game, they're probably they take care of Penn State. They'll probably bounce up to like 13 or something like that, or 15 to keep them in the mix, and that's going to strengthen the SEC schedule of keeping them in the playoff hunt and keeping maybe alive the idea of 2 SEC teams getting into the college football playoffs again. So we got to see how this game definitely unfolds. Definitely a primetime game event and definitely worth the number 1 spot on 6 for 6 today, ladies and gentlemen. Let me do a quick recap, and then I'll bring this program to a close and let you enjoy your Saturdays for college football and then, your Sundays for the NFL. So let's do a quick recap for all our glorious fans for tuning in, and those who are listening to the podcast, they forgot what games were mentioned. Definitely going to hit you on the quick recap and all that stuff. So let's get underway. So number 6, Falcons-Buccaneers on Sunday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, 1:05 p.m. Pacific time on Fox. So definitely tune in to check that game out, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we have Titans and Seahawks on September 19th, which is tomorrow, at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, 1:25 p.m. Pacific time on CBS. Definitely a good NFL matchup to enjoy your afternoon if you don't want to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Atlanta Falcons play at the 4 o'clock slot on Sunday. Next up, we have the great NFL matchup with Matt Stafford and the Rams versus Carson Wentz and the Colts. Definitely a key matchup for both of these teams in their quest for the NFL playoffs. But I know the season's young, anything could still happen. But trying to improve, not trying to have that one loss that really affects your early part of the season. Trying to have a good start to the year for sure. So this game, Rams Colts tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on Fox. Definitely tune in for sure if you want to get some NFL football. Now on to some college football for a quick recap before we close out today's program. We have Arizona State, number 19 in the nation, versus BYU, number 23 in the nation. Late night game for those on the East Coast who have trouble sleeping but need some good football action to prepare for, Sunday NFL games. So this game's on 10:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Pacific time on ESPN. Great game for those late at night people when you're at the bar after your team wins and you still in the mood for football. Definitely a good game for you to tune in and kick back and relax, enjoy your evening on that for tonight. Next up, we have great noon kickoff, Cincinnati versus Indiana. Indiana facing a Power 5 school, definitely trying to improve their chances to reach the college football playoff by taking care of Indiana. It's a step in the right direction, I would say, if they're able to take care of business and actually, do well. If they dominate this football game, it really helps their resume saying they took care of Indiana. And if Ohio State or Penn State struggles or anyone else in the Big Ten struggles, it kind of shows that Cincinnati can hang with the Big Ten, and that may, legitimize a good spot for them to be number 5 in the nation and miss out on the college football playoffs, but they'll get a New Year's 6. And if they get a good New Year's 6 against a strong opponent and can dominate, maybe next year they may get it. I don't know, because we've seen it really difficult for a group of 5 getting the college football playoffs. You got to be consistent, and they can't afford to lose a game. So you have to go almost 3 years or even 4 years being undefeated before the college football committee truly recognizes you to be in that college football 4-spot scenario. But number 1 in the nation is no laughing joke within Alabama or any of the other Power 5 schools who reach, top 2 spots every year. So definitely going to be something to keep an eye out for sure. And then the last game, ladies and gentlemen, we have the game that we all know that's going to be the best game of this weekend for college football and NFL. It's Auburn versus Penn State in Happy Valley. Number 22 Auburn in the nation and Penn State number 10 in the nation. at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time on ABC. Prime time event for these two teams. Will Bo Nix have a spectacular game, or Clifford from Penn State steal the show and show that Penn State belongs in the top 10? We have to see how this game unfolds. It's a whiteout in Happy Valley. Fans are in the stands, so Bo Nix is going to be up for a task in this one, ladies and gentlemen. But if he is able to pull it out and it's a barn burner and he comes out with the last drive, I joked about it like a couple years prior, I said Bo Nix for the Heisman. I don't want to start that train because it's probably not going to happen. But, if he puts up some spectacular numbers, it may be enough. He's already has 5 touchdowns this season and almost 500. He doesn't have a lot of yards, but he scores a lot. But Penn State's quarterback already has almost 500 yards. So this is definitely going to be an interesting game to see how it unfolds and develops. But that will do it for here for 6 for 6, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning on for today's program. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy all the sports that, are happening this weekend. If you're not a football fan, if you're looking towards other sports, definitely tune in those in. If you have sports that you want me to talk about in the future, feel free to leave them in the comments section. I'll read them, and I'll make sure I try to put them on my list and put them on my radar. Since it's football season, I've been trying to gravitate more towards football because that's where I love to talk about. I'm more in a little bit expertise in that, and that's my wheelhouse. But that's where I will end up going for sure, ladies and gentlemen. But as the NFL season dies down and NBA gets underway, I'll definitely put some other games on my list. But since I'm really more focused in the football aspect right now because not a lot of things are going on, that's where I will end up being. But that will do it for today's episode on 6 for 6, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your show. Enjoy re-listening to the show for those who are just tuning in to see what my picks were and all that stuff. But enjoy the rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen. And see y'all maybe next week. I have, going to the OSU Akron game. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a show. I have to, keep y'all posted. If not, we'll be back in 2 weeks. If not, I'll do a quick show on that Saturday. Get a show out before I hang out with my friends. It's a night game. I don't know what we're going to do in the day. And we're meeting some people from MI6, so it's definitely going to be something interesting and, anything else along those lines. But like I said, enjoy the rest of the program, ladies and gentlemen. Take care and see y'all in either next week or 2 weeks from now. So long. Take care, everyone.